Welcome to Mosaic. My name is Fudge. I serve as the pastor for Mosaic Seattle. My wife Kelly and I have been part of Mosaic for about 15 years. We have two incredible kids, a daughter named Emery, who's 9, our son Levi's 7. We were here in Los Angeles for about 14 years before moving up to Seattle a little over a year ago to bring what we had here in this amazing community into a new city. It's been an incredible time these last few months. There's so much happening in the world, and we're also aware of it. It's all we ever hear about right now. Every time we turn on the news, it feels like there's something new happening, but in many ways, it's more of the same. I'm actually kind of a nerd. I'm a news junkie, and I have been since I was young. I actually wanted to be a journalist when I was young. I probably am the youngest person I know who actually gets a physical printed newspaper delivered at their doorstep. People don't get papers anymore, but there's something still to me. I want to open it up and read all the stories and have it there, and then it sits in a pile and Kelly gets upset and what are we doing with all this paper? But I read the news. I've got all the different apps on my phone. I'm watching the different networks, and I'm reading all this and I'm watching all this, and I'm seeing the competing narratives about what's happening and how to interpret everything. But it just sucks me in, and especially when there's actual things happening in the world. And so I'm just addicted to it. I'm binge watching it like it's a new Netflix show. It's just pulling me in all the time. And the problem is that so oftentimes the news can be violent, it can be depressing, it can be discouraging, but that actually pulls you in even more. When I was in college, 9/11 happened, and I remember walking around campus, and there were TVs all over. They put TVs in every room, in the student union buildings and the cafeterias, and everywhere you go, you would see these minute-by-minute updates, as if there was breaking news happening by the minute. But we knew that maybe once a day there'd be something new that would happen, but it just sucked you into it. And there's danger in that because it can actually create a psychological effect where you get anxiety, you get stress, you can even get PTSD from watching too much negative news because you internalize it, it pulls you in, it shifts your brain to actually feel part of it. We are hardwired to be attracted to that which is negative. It's actually called negativity bias. And we face it all the time right now. It's everywhere we look. A few years ago, you might remember this, Malaysian Airlines had the plane that disappeared out in the ocean. And at that time, one of the major news networks ran around-the-clock coverage of this event for 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing considering there was nothing new to report. But they continued to run it over and over again because they knew people were pulled into it. Ratings were going up. It went so long that President Obama actually criticized the network for running it for 2 straight weeks. The president of the network actually said, that's true. We know. We know people watch this, and we're okay with that. We're okay running it on a loop because it drives ratings, and we're in the ratings business. And then, of course, social media is even worse. When we moved last year, I signed up for this social media platform called Nextdoor, which sounds super nice. You're oh, cool, I'm going to connect with the neighbors and the people I don't know yet, and I'm going to know what's going on in our new community. But it ends up just being a hot mess. The only thing you hear about is people complaining about something, or somebody's dog is going to the bathroom in somebody else's yard, and then when there's actual, something right now, during COVID, it began with a person taking pictures of all the toilet paper they're stockpiling, and then all these people just piling on, and it's this ongoing fight. You get emotionally pulled into this, and people just begin to spar and battle and suck you into this negativity. But fear is real, and it causes us to respond in such an abnormal way. And in moments right now, it's not that there isn't anything to be afraid of, but I often find it funny when people are we should be fearless. And even people of faith are be fearless. You should be fearless. And I'm that doesn't actually logically make sense. If I'm in the woods and a bear was to chase me, I'm going to run away. The fear is actually the thing that's going to save my life. So fear actually can serve a purpose. So the question isn't, should I be fearless? Should I have fear? The question is, what do we do when fear is in our life? how do we elevate our life and the life of other people when fear is present? There's this incredible passage, and there's really so many places in the scriptures where the narrative of courage and fear come into play. But there's one that I've been reading, I've spent a lot of time in recently, I want to share with you today. And it comes in this moment where Hezekiah is the king of Judah. And Hezekiah actually was an incredible king. He came into power, came into rule, and at a time when the people had been disconnected with God. And rather than build up a bigger kingdom and build bigger palaces, he focused on restoring the people's relationship to God. He was doing everything right. He was living an incredible life at that time. And it was the middle of this time when oftentimes you may feel like, I'm doing everything right. Why is something bad going to come now? I'm doing all the right things, making all the right decisions, and now I have this threat, this risk, this dangerous time coming upon me. And that's where this passage picks up. It's in 2 Chronicles chapter 32, beginning in verse 1. It says, after all that Hezekiah had so faithfully done, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah. He laid siege to the fortified cities, thinking to conquer them for himself. When Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and that he intended to wage war against Jerusalem, he consulted with his officials and military staff about blocking off the water from the springs outside the city, and they helped him. They gathered a large group of people who blocked all the springs and the stream that flowed through the land. Why should the kings of Assyria come and find plenty of water, they said. Then he worked hard, repairing all the broken sections of the wall and building towers on it. He built another wall outside that one and reinforced the terraces of the city of David. He also made large numbers of weapons and shields. He appointed military officers over the people and assembled them before him in the square at the city gate and encouraged them with these words. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged because the king of Assyria and the vast army with him, for there is a greater power with us than with him. With him is only the arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. And the people gained confidence from what Hezekiah, the king of Judah, said. So the Lord saved Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem from the hand of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and from the hand of all others. He took care of them on every side. So in this story, we find Hezekiah, the king of Judah, in his capital city. He's in the city with all of his people, and here comes this threat. And it was a real threat. This wasn't imaginary. This wasn't exaggerated. Here comes an army that's stronger than his, with a king who's more experienced than he is, who has already devastated and destroyed all the cities and all the towns in their surrounding area, all of which Hezekiah would have also been the king of. This threat was approaching the capital city and had already destroyed all of the surrounding areas. This threat was real. And you can imagine that in that moment, the experience, how people responded, would have been filled with panic. They would have been going, what do we do? Here comes this threat. It's coming upon us. We've never seen this before. Here it comes. What do we do right now? And Hezekiah had to make a choice in that moment. How do I respond when a threat is approaching that's real? And here's what they did. They stayed there. They held the line. I would like to say that's exactly what I would do, but I'm not sure that it's true, because there's times in my life when I'm like, I project that I have courage, but internally I know I'm actually filled with fear or panic. I get scared of something, but I don't want others to see it. I don't want them to know it. I want to show myself as being strong. I want to show that I have courage, but internally I'm a different person. I remember a number of years ago, I don't know why I had this thought, but I decided to go for this hike. And we hadn't been in California that long. We lived down in LA, the LA area at the time. And it just felt like this great thing. I'm going to have a day where I go on this long hike, and I'd heard of other people doing this, and it's such a great thing. And I hike a lot. Like, Kelly and I go for hikes, and I'm outdoors a lot. But I'd never just like gone, I'm going to go on like a 6-mile hike today, all by myself. So I decided I'm going to do it. I go up into the foothills. It's super hot in the middle of the summer. It's like 100 degrees. It's middle afternoon. And I start up this hill, this mountain. I get almost to the top. It's like 3.5 miles. And at the top of the mountain, there's this grassy area. And the grass is like knee height. And you can't really see what's in the grass, but it's no big deal. You're just walking along all by yourself. It's super quiet and peaceful. And then all of a sudden, I hear this rattling sound in the grass. And I'm like, I can't see it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think I know what it is. My mind told me what it was. My eyes had no idea, but I responded as if there's this rattlesnake that's chasing after me. It's gonna I don't know why I thought it was gonna just attack me, but I decided I'm just taking off, and I sprinted the last half a mile to the very top of that hill. I don't know why I went forward. It doesn't even make sense. I ran forward instead of going backwards. Backwards would have been a smarter choice. Backward would have been logical and rational. Forward made no sense because forward meant I had to come back through the same area. If I would have just turned around and ran down the hill, that would have had some sense in it. But I'm like, okay, I moved entirely out of panic. And in that time, I made maybe the dumbest decision ever. Completely irrational, illogical, no thought process at all. And then it continues. So I get up to the top of the mountain, and I sit there, and I'm like, okay, now I have to go back down the hill. And I'm going to go right through the same area, right through the same grass. There's a rattlesnake in there. It must want to attack me. It's waiting for me now. It's right on the trail. I'm going to have to jump it or something. And so I sit there, and I sat there for 6 hours. I sat there the rest of the day. I waited until the sun went down because I had heard, I think, that when the sun's down, it cools down a little bit. Snakes aren't as active. This is me coming from a cold weather place. I don't know. I mean, it cooled down. It was still 85 degrees, but it's dark. I'm sure the snake was just fine. But in my mind, it's like, okay, it's not going to want to attack me or something like that. I'm all by myself up there the whole day. And then I finally decide I have to go back home. So I start walking down the hill. And when I come to that grassy area, so much panic about where is it got into me that I sprinted down the mountain the rest of the way. I ran the whole way down the side of the mountain back to my car. And I didn't tell anybody that story for years because it's embarrassing. I'm like, what a coward. I didn't want anybody to see that. I want people to think I'm going to go fight snakes or something, then I'm going to carry a machete. I don't know why that would have been something to be so embarrassed about, but I'm like, that's not what I want to project. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be courageous. But in the reality, I was afraid of a snake that I never saw. So in this moment with Hezekiah, he sees a threat approaching, and he has to make a decision about what do I do. And I think how he responded speaks so much wisdom into how we should respond when there's times of danger and times of fear. So the first thing he did is he pulled all his closest people to him. He brought the people who were wise, who were experienced, who had trained. He brought the military leaders. He brought the leaders of his community, his confidants in close to him. He didn't just bring anybody. He brought the right people into his life. And together, they came up with a plan. They said, we're going to cut off the water. Let's do something wise. Let's make our first decision out of wisdom. We're going to cut off the water so when they come, this invading army can't have water. The second thing he says is we're going to fortify the walls. We're going to prepare ourselves. The third thing it says is they're going to take up arms. They're going to be ready to go. Look, Hezekiah knew that God was with them, but he still prepared himself for what was coming. We function with so much more wisdom when we invite wise people into our lives. In times of fear, it's hard to find courage when we're alone. I know I'm far less courageous when I'm alone than when I'm with others. I think we all are. I see this in my kids. My son Levi, who's 7, he at times has bad dreams, has nightmares, and he wakes up and he comes up and he wakes us up because that's what kids do. And all the parents out there know exactly what I'm talking about. For some reason, they want to make sure that you're aware that they had a bad dream. So not long ago, he had a week where it was every night he had a dream about a tarantula. And I don't know why a tarantula. I don't know where the thought of a tarantula came in, but it was this giant tarantula that he kept waking up from. So at 3 o'clock every night for a week, he comes upstairs, he gets into our bed, and he's like, Daddy, I had a bad dream. Mommy, I had a bad dream. And, this is the parent move. You're like, I'm tired. Just go back to sleep right here. Just lay down. We're here. You're safe. You're okay. Promise, you're okay. And we all fall back asleep. So I'm there for a week, and he's knees in your face, rolling around. He's laying on top of you over the, that. And so we're not sleeping all week. So by night 4 or 5, I'm like, this is my guy, like Levi, I love Levi. We do so much together, but I'm like, I don't want to see you right now. You are not the person I want to see at 3:00 in the morning. But sometimes we need the courage of others. And in that time with Levi, what he really needed is to have a place where he was around people he felt safe with, people who calmed his fears so he could get back to sleep. And we've all done that. Like, all of you probably did that when you were a kid. That's a super normal reaction. You might still do it. You might have a friend or a roommate, you have to wake up in the middle of the night because you have these thoughts in your mind. Whatever it is, that's super normal. We need other people in our life to actually speak courage into us. And here's what I know about that, being on top of that mountain. I see a snake by myself. I make a stupid decision to run forward, and then I sit there for hours and I wait as if the snake is going to be chasing me and attacking me, and then I sprint all the way down the hill. If I was with other people, I would have responded totally differently. I would not have responded out of fear. I would have responded with courage. It would have been shared amongst us. Sometimes you need the courage of others, and sometimes you're the person who can actually speak courage into others. Courage is infectious. It can actually be shared with others. So share your courage with others and borrow the courage of the people who are more courageous than yourself. And that's what we see in this story with Hezekiah. He is the leader in that time. He had to make a decision, and he pulls all the people close to him. And what's incredible about this story is it says he pulls all of the military leaders around him, the people who've trained for battle. They've spent their life preparing to go to war. And yet, it shows that those people, those military leaders, were actually afraid themselves. That Hezekiah actually had to speak courage into them. He said, "Be strong and courageous." Hezekiah spoke truth into people who should have been courageous. Because no matter who we are, there may be moments in our life when fear can overtake us, and we need to have courage spoken into us. So I think the craziest thing about this passage isn't that a king and an army would try to protect their land and trying to protect their kingdom. That seems normal. Like, you would fight to save all of that. The craziest thing about this passage to me is that Hezekiah hadn't spent his time ruling, building up bigger castles or palaces, acquiring more riches. He had spent his time actually reconnecting people to God. And so his decisions and how he responded would have shown and exemplified how God is to be trusted when crisis comes. This wasn't about saving property. This was about showing people that God is trustworthy. See, our courage isn't always just for us. We aren't courageous just so that we can overcome things. We're courageous so we can elevate other people. If we become more selfless, more sacrificial, when we begin to think about the people in our lives who matter, who we love, when we start to think about our city, our country, our world, and begin to actually put their needs over our needs, our courage will be elevated. If we continue to make decisions that are entirely upon ourselves and what we want, we will all stay at the lowest point. And so Hezekiah made a decision knowing he's going to show the reality of God to people based on how he responds. If Hezekiah would have retreated, he would have communicated to his people and to the world that the God that he says he believes in cannot be trusted when actual trial comes. So the real question is, does the faith that we carry during times of peace exist when we're faced with actual trial? And just perhaps, maybe, it's in trial that shows us how real that faith really is. At Mosaic, we have a very simple mission statement. It's both simple and profound. It says that we will live by faith, we will be known by love, and we will be a voice of hope. You cannot be a voice of hope if you run when danger comes. In Hezekiah, we see a person who decided to hold the line, to speak hope, to speak courage into people, to elevate everybody, to respond to the challenge that's coming. If we want to be the people who elevate others, who respond with courage, who hold on to faith, then we need to sacrifice for the needs of others. We need to put others above ourselves. It's in our selflessness that our courage will truly grow. There are real challenges in the world right now. There's a global pandemic. There's a continued fight for justice. There's so many things that are real, that are not imaginary. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, will we be the people who respond with courage and elevate others, who consider the people around us, who sacrifice for who they are and what they need? Or will we be the people who runs down the mountain because of a threat you can't even see? You may be with us here today and you know that you've been doing life alone and trying to face all these challenges on your own. And perhaps sometime during this gathering today, you've realized that you don't have to do it alone, that there's a God who wants to journey with you in this life, that wants to face all these challenges together. So if you're here today and you say, yes, I'm ready to walk across that line of faith, to take that step, it begins with a simple prayer. It's not the only prayer you're going to pray, but it's the first step in this new journey. You just pray these simple words. Jesus, I give you my life. You just say it. Jesus, I give you my life. And wherever you're at right now, that once you say those simple words, the promise of God is that He will meet you in that moment. He has actually stepped into life with you and will be with you through everything you have in the future. I'd love to pray for you right now. We thank you, Lord God, for each person here who has prayed those words. We thank you for life, and we thank you that you're a God who's promised to meet us through all of these challenges. Pray a blessing over each person today who stepped across that line of faith, that they would be filled with courage and filled with hope for a new life they're just going to learn how to live today. In Jesus' name, amen.